Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. We have always a choice. Every moment we have the choice to turn the attention back and be aware of that aspect that is not affected by what is happening, or get completely lost in the current of what is happening. The more we make use of that choice, the more we turn the attention back to its source, the greater becomes the choice we are also having in influencing the events. As long as we are living half asleep, just going through our life, then we are being pushed by so many currents without being aware of it, thinking we are making choices, but actually just predictably playing our role, that the story is unrolling itself as predicted. But once we choose to bring the attention back to be here in the timeless present, then we are escaping that compulsion to just predictably do whatever the currents that are on the way dictate us. The more we are rooted in that, the more we are consciously connecting with that, then we are also capable of influencing the events, making choices where our direction is going. That it's not that the destiny has been put into stone and invariably we have to go along with that destiny. Unfavorable aspects of destiny can easily be avoided like this. And then people make choices in their life, and often these are not so happy choices, and they could have made other choices. Then there come the teacher who says you have to attain choiceless awareness. As long as you are making choices, then you are in bondage. That's all very nice, but the teachings are not for people who are dwelling in choiceless awareness. The teachings are for people who are on the way, who have the tendency to slip out of being in conscious touch with the source, and then make an attempt to come home and be more in tune with that. Choiceless awareness is an abstraction that often is used, but we can very well misuse it for not making any attempts, for not making any efforts. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making efforts, but it's good to know what we are making the effort for, not struggling to finally get somehow a reward for it, but reminding ourselves to connect with the essence. And the more we do that, the more we can influence what is going to happen. I just now think of a man that I knew already more than 30 years ago. He was a young lad. He had a tremendous amount of innocence, but he had also quite a tremendous rage inside. But there was great potential. And as the years passed, unfortunately, instead of deciding to have a good look at his inner anger that has been accumulated, it simply he ignored it. He explained it away in the psychological way. That's because I had a very difficult youth. Definitely, that was the case. But that doesn't mean we have, after that, put our whole life long to be a victim of that pattern. I remember once I pointed out, hey, some of his actions that were destructive, and he said, you don't understand anything about psychology. because that because that and this and this and that happened in my youth. That's why I'm acting like this. And we can excuse ourselves our whole life long and just after that keep that thing in ourselves. There was always the possibility to choose to confront it, to weaken it, and to develop more that innocent aspect that was there very strong, but unfortunately over the years that innocence got buried more and more and more. And now there is a tremendous bitterness after all these years. There have been choices made, not conscious choices. But if we are honest, if we look at ourselves, then we can make those choices consciously. And even if it's unpleasant, when we see that there are aspects that simply are destructive, that prevent us from really expanding in our consciousness, that when we see them, that we learn to confront them, unpleasant as it is, that we learn to let those destructive elements come up and see what they are doing, see how unnecessarily they are creating pain to ourselves, those we are with, and learn to let them go. We have that possibility. It's not because something happened in our youth that was very unfavorable, or many things happened in our youth that were unfavorable, that after that we are slaves of that for the rest of our life. If we don't want to be, we can choose not to be a victim of that. We can choose at least to make the attempt to turn the attention back to the source and develop that innocent beauty. It's there in everybody somewhere. But then, if these choices are not made, then there is the possibility that that innocence is going more and more in the background, and then as the years appear, many people become frustrated and bitter and have still the same problem. That rage is not dissolved, is not resolved. And the habit has grown that to always justify oneself, excuse oneself because this, because that, because something was very off in my youth. Many people have difficulties in their youth. Many people go through terrible things in their youth, but everybody has the possibility to address it, to let it go, to grow out of it and come that much the stronger out of it. But we have to learn to be aware. And then we become aware there are crossroads where we can make choices. And as long as we are not aware, we make those choices unconsciously and usually just in the old same line of the patterns that we have developed early in our life, and it goes on repeating itself. It's worth the trouble to be alert, to have a good look at ourselves, to see where we are disharmonious, where we are hurting ourselves, where we are hurting others, because when we are hurting others, we are also hurting ourselves, where we are creating unnecessary violence. We have always the possibility to step a step back, have a good look and see it, and then learn to deal with those tendencies in such a way that they stop being violent, that they stop being destructive. And then actually, even if such negative tendencies are there, if we learn to deal with them in such a way that we grow out of them, then we come out that much the stronger. Let's learn to make that choice consciously. Choose to turn the attention back to that source, to that innocent beauty, and let that develop. We may not be always successful trying to consciously connect, and sometimes the influence is just too strong for our capacity to connect, but still our attempt is making us stronger. And if we do that again and again, then no matter what destructive elements we are carrying around, they can be neutralized. We need not, we don't have to hold on to them. That possibility of that choice is always there. And the more consciously we choose to connect with the essence, the more it will start to express itself in our external actions, how we are leading our life, and how we are overcoming tendencies that try to prevent us from being conscious. It is always possible, every moment. Now I'm coming to a question from Mariano. He said, how can we keep up the faith in the self, in God, the goddess, the guru, when apparently nothing is happening? And there is nothing really good happening in the life, and there seems to be no grace in our life. How can we keep up the faith? Yes, such periods may come that it seems to be nothing goes on. It's like I'm just turning round and round and round on the same spot. But actually it's not so. Every experience is making us richer. Every experience makes us grow a little. Every experience makes us stronger. And if we consciously use that experience, if we consciously live in the present, then that process of becoming stronger can also become joyous, playful. Now, what to do in such a period when everything just seems so shallow, when there seems to be nothing good happening, when we have the feeling just whatever I try, I'm not in any way advancing anywhere. How to keep the faith? We don't have to expect help from outside. Sometimes it comes unexpected, something comes and lifts us up. And that's a special moment of grace. But often this is not happening. But even if that is not happening, if we continue to stay with it, then sooner or later we become aware, oh, it has never really been absent. The touch of the divine is always there. When everything goes nice, it's easier to have faith. Yes, we are guided, we are supported, we are in touch with that divinity. When it's not going so nice, then comes the mind and think, oh my God, I have lost the touch. There is no grace. I'm not getting anywhere. But this is just a conclusion of the mind, of the intellect, and it's wrong. And then instead of spending the time and racking the brain and think, why, what did I do wrong? Just what we have to learn is to accept the situation. Okay, it seems to be a bit dry. It seems like walking through a desert right now, but just keep walking. Then you will come out of the desert. Have your way with which you are connecting with the now, with the essence, with yourself, with God, with the Guru. It's all the same. And then practice that as much as you can. So Mariano, I recommend you just use Werner's magic formula. Whenever doubts come, whenever you start to brood, instead of trying with the mind, with the intellect, with thoughts to find a solution, just redirect the attention. Center, breathe, relax. Be here, be now. There are many other ways to connect consciously, but if you include the conscious breathing, be aware of the body in the present, not being obsessed with the body, but be aware of the body, breathe consciously. It has the advantage that very quickly you start, at least on that level, to feel better. And then it becomes easier to continue and easier again to open the heart and become more aware. Yes, that divine touch is always there. It's not that sometimes it's absent, and then maybe if we do the right thing, if we do good deeds, then it's there again. No, it's never absent. It's always there. You cannot artificially create faith, but you can have the faith to at least continue, not to stop. Okay, I'll try. And with every step comes the necessary faith, the necessary courage to make the next step. And even in periods where it seems not to go anywhere, where it seems to be really like useless, hopeless, you just make the next step. And instead of resisting the fact of your experience and think, what is wrong? It shouldn't be like this. What have I done? Just be, return the attention, redirect the attention. Be aware of your body sensations. Breathe consciously. Focus in the now and relax. And then that conscious being in the present and relaxing, you can be sure it won't take long that you feel that touch again better. And then you are aware that divine guidance is here, that divine support is here. Without that, you wouldn't be on a spiritual path looking for truth. So it's never absent. But we cannot just think first that has to come and then I'm doing something. No. Be in the present. Center, breathe, relax, relax, relax. But be aware. A simple thing like breathing and relaxing. And you will quickly start to feel better. And when you start to feel better, the confidence comes all by itself. I wish you well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Okay, my friends. That was Mariano's question. And if any of you would like to say something, you are welcome to come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Lutz.
Yeah, you just mentioned the topic anger, and I have a problem with anger, especially with angry people.
Yeah.
I have a long time driven the cab, and yeah. I came across many people, and sometimes also they were angry.
Yeah.
But I was in a kind of professional mode. Yes. That means I accepted they are just my customers. I'm driving around, and if they're angry, they are angry. And actually, I was sometimes even inside kind of laughing at them, or kind of feeling pity for them that they were angry because they were not in time, or something like that.
Yeah.
But in my private life is quite different. I was once together with a woman who used to be getting angry quite often. She just was angry for small things, and she felt that is a kind of her birthright to blast this anger around. And although it was not kind of specially directed at me, she was not specially angry at me, but she was just often angry, and at times also angry with me. And I felt like she's exploding a bomb inside my heart, because I loved her, and I was very open with her. And then she released this anger, and ultimately our relationship broke apart, because or one reason was that I couldn't deal with that anger. And I told her, why you're getting angry for small things, and she never understood that she's hurting other people around her. Somehow she felt she just has to express it. It has to be released. And it was also something that she forgot about within 2-3 minutes or something like this. Whereas I was dealing with the kind of aftershock for hours, if not days or something like that. I felt so hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
And so anyway, I sort of stopped a close relationship with that particular woman,
Mhm.
and so the problem is not there anymore. And but recently I started to work for one elderly man, and he has the same kind of, or is kind of similar anger pattern,
Yeah,
that he tells me that I'm supposed to do something.
yeah,
And if I don't finish it in time, and he gets very impatient, he gets very angry at me.
yeah.
And sometimes in a very unjustful way. That means I couldn't do it faster for him. And I I I feel so unjustly kind of hurt or unjustly pressurized. It freaks me out. I cannot. I'm kind of hopeless in that. And I think I failed the test. I failed. I failed the test of dealing with with anger. I mean, from a more distant perspective, I can also rationalize to myself, actually, this is an old man. He has a problem with anger, and he doesn't know how long certain things are need to be worked out, and he's impatient, and I can rationalize all this, but still I cannot kind of keep the distance, or I'm feeling totally hurt by him, and I'm feeling um, uneasy around him.
Mm.
That's also why I cannot work with him anymore, because I feel so uneasy that maybe um, his anger hits me tomorrow or something like that.
Mhm.
So I quit with him.
Yeah.
And but I feel also that he is actually teaching me something, or
Mm.
that we have some kind of deeper relationship, and there's some deeper meaning in all that. But I feel victimized by his thing, and I'm also wondering about myself. Why on earth somehow I make myself so small? I kind of I'm going into this victim mode.
Right. Somehow you could do that without getting in the victim mode when you were a cab driver, because then you thought, all right, so what does it matter that they may be angry? You were you were just driving your cab, whether they were friendly or angry, and you didn't somehow expect really anything from them. So then there was not that resistance when they were unfriendly. Certainly, even there, it was more enjoyable when people were friendly than unfriendly. But if they choose not to be friendly and angry, and then you thought, okay, I'm driving, I cannot do but more than drive, and it's their problem. But when you get closer, then there, along with that, there comes the expectations how somebody should or should not be and behave with you in a certain way. And of course, it's nothing wrong to expect basically people to behave properly. But many people may not be capable of behaving properly. And If you are then getting closer, then it hurts you because you think it shouldn't be like this. And then maybe he's capable, or he or she or whoever is capable of invoking a doubt. Am I maybe not good enough? Is it not good enough what I'm doing? And you making yourself a victim. So when somebody is angry at you and maybe a doubt comes, you look at it and then you can decide, okay, they may even have a point. So there and there I could do something better. And if you feel, no, it's just their impatience that is blasting out like this and it has nothing to do with me, then you can also think, so let the man be angry. So what? I'm doing my thing and I'm doing it properly. So if you then not resist to the situation and think he should behave better, then the anger will pass through like it has passed through you when you were a cab driver.
Yeah, I feel you are pointing in the right direction, because I'm actually having also some sort of relationship with that man in that manner, that he's my father and I'm his son. I mean, that's a completely kind of assumption, or there's some way how he deals with me. I feel something like that.
Yeah.
If I could also say maybe in some former life he was my father and I was his son, or something like this. But 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 let's put it more like this, that I'm just assuming that such kind of relationship exists between us, or although he's not my father and I'm not his son. But he's quite much older than me, so yeah. And actually this little child, it awaits some kind of support,
Right.
rather than his anger outbursts. And yeah, then the little child is deeply hurt and kind of turns away. Somehow I'm rather helpless in this role. I mean, I cannot make him just a customer or something like that. And that's maybe the mistake I have done, or the kind of the creation on my side. If I in the beginning thought very much he's just a client, then I wouldn't expect him to be nice. I would just do my thing, and if he's happy with it, fine. And if he's not happy with it, is not good, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But if I assume that he should act as a loving, supportive, fatherly figure, then I put myself into trouble.
Right. As soon as you expect this kind of reactions from somebody, then you are a victim from his moods. Then when he is in a good mood, he may sometimes assume that role and give you a good, nice pat on the back. And then at other times when he's not in a good mood and he does the opposite, then you're opening up to just get hurt and be a victim and feel small. And there you don't have to work on him, but on yourself, and learn not to do that anymore, not to make yourself into a victim, because actually we are doing that ourselves to ourselves, being a victim or not a victim. As you said, you somehow established a relationship, or it has been somehow established like father and son, and then there comes the expectation, what that should mean. And most of this is most of the time not conscious. But when it's there, then there is that wanting of approval, to feel to feel stronger. And as long as we are expecting to be strong and hoping for a good feedback, no matter from where it is coming, then yes, then we are in trouble, because it won't come all the time. You are strong in yourself. You are your own father. And then you can look at yourself, and when you see something is not so okay, then you can work on it and correct it. But the more you become aware, the strength, the assurance I'm looking for has to come out of myself and not from somebody. Then the less power this kind of situation has over you. If our self-confidence is dependent, or even if it's not totally dependent, but very easily influenceable from the feedback that comes from outside, then we continue to walk into situations where we feel very much hurt. So we have to learn to become aware that assurance, that sense of security, that sense of being complete comes out of myself and from nowhere else. Sometimes it may be nice and helpful if somebody gives us a nice pet and supports us and encourages us. This is momentary. It's not something that makes us really stronger, but momentary gives us a bit courage to go ahead. But if we don't want to get into that spot of being a poor victim of somebody's behavior, then we have to become aware. My strength comes out of myself. My confidence I can increase in myself is independent from the feedback of other people. And this is not some kind of mood that we have to create. This is simply a fact. This is the only place where that real sense of fulfillment, that real sense of strength, that real sense of security can come from, out of our own selves. The more we are aware of that, the less vulnerable we will become in situations like this. Of course, it's much more challenging with somebody where there is some kind of a special emotional connection than like an abstract person that comes in your cap and goes out of your cap. It's just a momentary guy there and then he goes. But if you establish a more emotional connection in whatever way that connection is, then we are more easily tempted to expect support, to expect encouragement, to expect some kind of compliments, to expect something from them that our self-image can be strengthened. And if the opposite is happening and they start to abuse us, then we are more prone to get hurt by it. And the way to not get into that spot of being a victim is to learn to understand, even if the situation is favorable, even if we are getting the expected feedback, that the strength cannot come from there. It can only come from ourselves. And what makes us strong, that we learn to connect no matter what, even if there is an unfavorable situation, like to some degree. you said when you were in the cab and driving and somebody was angry and maybe shouting or whatever, and sometimes you were even laughing inside. So you were somehow resting in yourself and not let them pull you out of your centeredness with being in yourself. Whereas somebody who is emotionally closer, we give them the power easily to pull us out of that. And that we can learn not to do so. Take the power back and be aware. That strength is in me. I just have to access it. Just have to connect with it. I just don't have to give that, and not even a part of the power, to somebody else.
I can understand that intellectually, but when I think about the cab driver situation, I felt that I'm just kind of making some kind of unpenetrable energy field around me. Just
Yeah.
I'm settled within myself and I do my job now, and it is a kind of I like a shield, I would say.
Yeah.
If I'm balanced, I could kind of if I was in some inner balance, I could do that. I had to do that, otherwise I couldn't survive this job.
Yeah.
Uh, but in a closer relationship, I don't want to put up this kind of shield.
Yeah.
I want to be open. I want to be sensitive to the sentiments and feelings of the other person.
Right.
So that,
The shield is a momentary solution. It's not a solution to stay. And so if you are only short time with people together, like in that old job, that may have worked. But the shield is still, in a way, comes out of a certain fear that I have to protect myself. And we don't need to make that shield. We can learn to keep that centeredness without creating a wall. And the more you are centered and you are capable of relaxing in being centered, let go in that centeredness, the more you become transparent, that even if these kind of influences come, they just go through and they are not stuck in our system and keep on hurting.
hmm. Yeah, I heard that from you very often, and from some intellectual point, or also just some kind of understanding, deeper understanding point. I think that's very valid. But still, somehow, if your wife or your beloved is angry with you, somehow you you let it go. Yeah,
Mhm.
it is just passing through you without any bigger effect. I'm simply not there. I don't know how to do that.
Well, at least you can uh, accept it. That's the direction.
Hmm.
Instead of looking for other solutions, that when the situation is there, you feel hurt, you feel, or you feel in a victim situation, you feel it's unjust, that instead of then hooking with the mind on that thought, on that feeling, and turning it round and round, once you become aware that you are doing, then you can at that moment decide, no, I can also deal with that situation differently. You may not be totally capable of succeeding, but already the attempt of then accepting, okay, this is the situation and the solution is making myself strong, and not somehow hope that the situation is going to be ideal and is going to be better. And every time you do that, it's your strength is increasing and gradually it's getting easier.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that that is my way. My weakness is really also to holding on to that in close relationship. Now I'm hurt. I'm holding on to this hurt feeling for a very long time, which is actually not necessary. I could feel this hurt for 10 minutes and then just let it go. But I keep it for hours or even days. So that's another. I feel that's the wrong way to deal with it.
Yeah, some part of the personality likes it. That okay, I'm a poor victim. So then we can so bask in feeling sorry for ourselves.
Well, that's that's most probably true, but it's kind of I feel ashamed if I have to admit that it's actually like that, that I also like to be the victim or that I like to be hurt or something. This it sounds to me like pervert or something like this. That a pain actually gives also some sort of pleasure or yeah, it's strange, but
It's strange, it's pervert, and it's most of the people function more or less like this. So you don't have to be especially ashamed. It's something that is very, very, very common, more or less, and we have to learn to see it and see, and then start to more and more decide. No, it's that may have been there in the past, but I need not continue like this. I can become strong. I can learn to act, to react differently. I can learn if something hurts to see it, see what it is doing in my system, and relax and let it go. And then, even if it hurts for a moment, it's not a big deal. It hurts a moment, you let it go. But that holding on to is some creepy aspect of the personality who doesn't want to let go. And after all, I'm right. I have the right to feel like this. And it's not a matter of whether one is right or wrong, whether it was justified that somebody said harsh things to us or not. It's a matter whether we learn not to be victimized by it or not.
yeah, I think we covered the issue.
Yes.
I'm feeling ashamed about it because actually I'm now starting to feel that in some way it's also spicing up my life. It's some kind of intense experience to be hurt by somebody and go into this victim role and inwardly yell and scream and in pain and all this. This is also some kind of fun of life. It's strange to see it like that, but um, I must admit that there's some part in me uh, which is like that, which
But it's good that you say that, and then you can decide, but it need not be there. I can also learn to do that different. That has been there, and it's there in most of the people, but I can learn to really grow out of it. And the personality doesn't want to let go, but there is something I don't want to lose. But actually, we never losing anything when we give up this kind of stuff. It's always the experience is always getting more expensive. I mean, you're not the only one. I had very difficulty to admit in my own story how much self-pity I was carrying along and holding on to. Actually, my way then of dealing with it, becoming very aware that it is there, and then for some time it became nearly like a mantra for me. No self-pity. No self-pity was helping me to remember to put the things right. You have to find your own ways, but it's worth the trouble. It's not that we are losing some spicy aspect of life. It just looks like this in the mind, but all this kind of stuff, when we let them go, it's not that we are losing anything. In contrary, it's opening up for something much more profound and more intensity.
I still feel now kind of embarrassed that I enjoy such things, that I kind of actually enjoy in some way being hurt like this or something. It seems to some in some corner of my mind this feels very kind of immature or crazy or pervert is such a bad word, but um, yeah. But if you say that you met many people like that, it's very common. It's a bit consoling. So I just joined the club. So yeah, or I'm just also one of those. So yeah.
And you know, it's if we really start to honestly look at ourselves and see what we are doing and how we are functioning, it's most of the time for everybody going from embarrassment to embarrassment. Because basically in our conscious mind, we like to have a relatively good image about ourselves. And if we have a good, honest look and see what is really going on, then, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it's a lot of embarrassment. And actually that embarrassment is good because that opens the possibility to grow out of it. So you are on the good way. Shall we drop it like that?
Yes, definitely. Go ahead with somebody else. I don't want to be watched any longer.
Okay, wish you well. Hari Om, Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. I see there are not so many people there. Is there anyone who would like to talk in spite of how there is Andreas? Hello.
Hello, Werner. I just wanted to say something what Lutz has just said, because I'm helping my uncle in the garden for 2 years now, and he's a very difficult person. He's 98 years old, and sometimes it's very helpful to ask oneself how old is he now? Because in my experience with other old people, they're losing a lot of their mental capacities. So they're acting a lot of times like 5-year-olds or sometimes like 3-year-olds. They're very unable to deal with their emotions anymore. They just come out. And a lot of times it's very helpful to see them like, okay, I'm just dealing with a 5-year-old who thinks he's the boss.
Yeah. Sure. That helps us. What is needed is to learn to detach. And this kind of mental gymnastics may help us to detach and not to be locked in the situation. And if that thinking like this helps you to step a step back, then immediately it becomes easier, sure.
Yeah, and I also can see like most of the stuff my uncle does is just to regulate his own self-esteem and his own self-picture, and it has not very much to do with me.
Right. But then you can think, after all, man is, what did you say, 98?
88, no, 89, like
89,
that.
not 98.
Yeah, no.
But it's still quite a lot. And so he lives in his own bubble, in his own world. And then it's, if you see it like this, then it's easier to accept some idiosyncratic behavior.
Yeah, he
Right.
displays a lot.
This plays a lot of it. See. So it's a good exercise to continue working for him.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I got a lot of training recently.
You got a lot of training. Very good. And if you see it like this, then it's not so difficult to stomach, huh?
No,
Yeah.
sometimes I manage very well, sometimes not so well, but sometimes I even just like it just passes through me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
It's so stupid. What did you do again? You're a total fool.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to add that.
I just wanted to add that. Okay. Thank you. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Okay, then I'm adding something to what I have said to Lutz, that actually, if we sincerely, honestly look at ourselves, it's usually not a nice picture that we are seeing there. We are so much busy always buttering up things in our memory and little bit twisting our memory that our role in the whole thing looks nicer and more justified. And if we start to really look at it just objectively, matter of fact, then sometimes it's not at all pleasant what we are seeing there. When I started to sit a lot, I'd been sitting for years before, some, but then when I started to sit a lot there, so much stuff came up, and there was a period I was always busy with the past, things coming up, suppressed anger, unfulfilled desires. But sometimes I didn't want to deal with it and just pushed it away. But then I had to surrender and accept it. Okay, I have to deal with that stuff. But it was mainly about things that has happened in my life, how others have behaved and how I had retained a mental tension about it. And then suppressed it, pushed it in the subconscious. There was a lot of stuff there that I didn't know it's there, and becoming more aware, becoming more silent, it started to bubble up. Wasn't a pleasant experience to deal with it, but once I accepted, okay, I have to deal with it, then it wasn't also so bad anymore. It was bad as long as I didn't want to deal with it and I didn't want to be busy with mental and emotional and psychological stuff. So there was a period where this was extreme. It came and it left and it became more silent again. But then later in my sadhana time, actually a few years later, there came another period where the past came back very strong. But this time it was different. First time it was what the bad world has been doing to me in my past, had to process my reactions to that. But then when the second period came, where the past started to bubble up again, suddenly that was all about me, all about this Werner guy. Suddenly there were memories coming up where I was more aware in a situation that I had been when it was an actual physical manifestation. But by the time my perspective had started to dramatically change. And then suddenly from that new perspective, then I saw how this Werner person has been functioning. And there was, for a period, there was all the time this, oh, no, oh, no. So it was like continuously getting embarrassed, thinking, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be. Seeing much more, not simply the actions, but the emotions that accompany them and the motivations that were not even conscious. But okay, when there were situations where there was bad reactions, then it was still easier to see, okay, there was a bad reaction and accept this happened sometime. But then becoming more and more aware, even in situations where I felt I had been behaving very nicely, when I became more aware what really was going on in this personality, becoming more aware how much even that was always me, ego motivated, hoping to get a better response from the world outside, hoping to move up in the estimation of people. And there was certainly also something nice flowing many times in the life before. But there was always that contamination there, that the me wants something out of it. And so there was a period where the past came again very strongly, and actually looking at it was a lot of the time just embarrassing. One doesn't have to think that is something special or something, it should not be like this. If you learn to detach from that idea, I am this person, become aware this person is just a role, and detach, then become at least to some extent aware how it functioned with that attachment, how much everything was turning round and round and then round at about that me, I, me, mine, me and the others. What reactions am I getting? It can be very embarrassing, but at the same time, it's healing. It's good to have the courage to look at ourselves honestly. Whether we like what we see or not, to just honestly look, because in that honesty, then those things that prevent us from being natural, not being locked in an idea of a personality, but being natural. Those things that prevent us from being that can be eliminated. That we can come back home to our natural way of existence. To be the way we were meant to be. Innocent. At ease, at peace with ourselves. And then we can be much more at ease and peace with people around, whether they behave or not behave, whether we are getting positive feedback from them or negative feedback from them. Still, we will choose our way, that we not unnecessarily put ourselves always in negative situations. There's nothing wrong with that, but we don't have to do that out of fear. We can go our way in a playful, dancing way. And still, it will come many times that we find ourselves in situations that are not pleasant, in our worst situations, with people behaving in just trying to hurt consciously or trying to hurt, not being aware that they are trying to do so. But the more we can live in our natural being, then the less it does matter. From a moment, there may be a reaction. We see the reaction, we let it go. The situation goes, it's gone, it doesn't leave a trail. But in order to be capable to live like this, we have to see what prevents us. And in order to be capable of seeing what prevents us from living in this natural way, we have to have the courage to have a good look at ourselves and see what we are doing, see our reactions, see the hidden agenda behind it, see the subtle motivation behind it, and learn to detach and let go even from that. That natural being is always there in manifestation, in the time-space movie that is going on. When the identification with the role is too strong, then you're forgetting about that natural being that is there. And as soon as we are identifying and totally believe that I am this person, then the struggle comes also to create a nice image, create a nice image of myself, of the person. We don't need any image. We can learn to just be. And then hurtful situations still will happen. They may hurt a moment. And we can accept the hurt. And we can let it go. And it's gone. And then they are not a problem. That is the story of this world. It still will happen. We face all kinds of unfriendly situations. We look out and see what kind of stuff is going on in the world. We may feel hurt by that, but we are not sinking into that me, poor little me who has to endure this. Because there is that awareness, that natural being that I am is not affected by this. It's always new and fresh and innocent and full of life and joy and creativity that wants to express itself, wants to pour it into this time-space current, into this story, and express it more and more beautifully and more pure and innocent. It's there. It's not something we have to create. It's not something that we are achieving after long struggle and sadhana. It's something that is there. But we have learned to cover it up with so many other things, and to see those covers, that courage, that honesty is necessary. That we look at ourselves and see what's going on. And then memories come. And we can see that those memories and those emotions locked in it from a perspective that is impartial, that simply says, there, I did it again and again and again, creating that little bubble of me, without being aware that I'm doing it, and of course, locking the consciousness into that, and then that hurts. That hurts myself, that hurts those that are around. We don't lose anything. We don't have to keep facing in front of ourselves. Let's see it very clearly. Honestly, and then relax. Okay, that has been like this. It's the past. Now is now. And now there is only time for freedom. Now there is only time to manifest that innocent beauty. Okay. Is by now anybody else who would like to come in? Hello, Andreas is back.
Isn't it quite natural that we are always just like evolving around ourselves? I think this is as far as I can judge it. It's I'm always somehow in the back of my mind. There's the identification with me and my body and my personality, and so all the things I do is always dealing with that in a and so all the actions are in a little bit way egoistical, isn't it like?
I mean, a little spark of that will remain. That is necessary to keep the story going, to keep the body going. And of course, there is a point within this time space from where you are perceiving, and that's where your body is. It's like a figure in a dream. You are being a figure in a dream, and through that figure you connect with the whole rest of the dream. So naturally, there is a special attention to that. But the identification, and then after that building walls around and desperately trying to protect a certain image and all that, this is not natural, but it's very habitual. It's something that nearly everybody does continuously, and we're growing in this world, and everybody does it. So naturally, no, habitually, we are also doing the same thing. But it need not be like this. Naturally, you are not affected by that. Naturally, you don't create that me obsession that is always busy within that little circle, and then most of the time in conflict with everybody else and with the whole rest of the world. Everything that we think is outside of that circle and is not me. This is the habitual way of existing for the most of humanity. But if you ask me, is it not natural? No, I say it's not natural. It's simply habitual.
Yeah, I completely understand it intellectually, but I don't get out of it. Even if I meditate and I get more centered, I feel it's still there most of the time. Isn't that like the basic shift when this drops away?
It loosens up gradually by becoming more aware. And then there may be a certain rotating into a new perspective. And then the old habit still will come back and try to establish itself, but it's easier to see it from that perspective and easier not to get into that thing. But it's also possible that somebody is building just again a new game from that perspective, another kind of me. The job is that we are alert and see where it's really totally motivated our actions, our reactions, even our feelings from that me separate being, and that we learn when we see that to relax that, to let go that, not to justify, not to think that's how it is, that's that's natural, that's human. No, we can grow out of that. And it's not that we are losing anything, it's liberating and liberating whatever we letting go. And the process is gradual. The, 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 we are leaving layers and layers and seeing again and again that this is happening, and gradually it's a loosening up. And then suddenly there may be a major shift. But the process to that point is a gradual point. Like a fruit, I remember a picture from Nisargadatta. It's like the apple, like the fruit in the tree, it's gradually ripening, and suddenly it drops.
Yeah, when you become present in the meditation, then it feels like it's gone for a split second, but the next split second it comes back and evaluates it. So it's yeah.
Patting yourself on the back and think, now after all, that's a good meditation. But then you see it and then you don't learn not to take it serious.
It's very difficult.
No, it's not so difficult.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm disappointed about that. For me, it's just this gradual process where I don't feel I'm not so identified with myself anymore than I've been years before. But the big shift I don't have never experienced that this completely drops.
Right. That it's also not something that you can do. It's not that somehow you didn't get the trick how to do it. It's not something you can do. But what we can do is making ourselves available and then leave it in whatever hands you want to call it, in God's hands, in the universe hands, in the hands of the self. It's not something that I, from the personal perspective, have any control over it. But what I can do is making myself more available, letting the apple ripe.
Yeah. So somehow it's like it's not a good idea to try to reach that in meditation.
To
The
reach,
point in meditation, right? It's just there, so it's not, you cannot make it. Yeah.
right. I mean, it's perfectly all right that you focus in your meditation, and when you see how the attention is diverting, that you bring it back and connect with that is which is real. But everything beyond that, after that, is again a trick of the mind. I want then this to come out of it, and then we have all kinds of imaginations what that would be like and how it would be, and then we try to achieve that, and there we can also let go of that. Just being consciously in touch is already self-fulfilling. It's not that we have then to wait there in the waiting room and it's heavy and it's boring, but every time you really bring the attention back, you already dive, at least to some extent, into the joyousness of your being. It's already self-fulfilling. And then the rest that the mind is creating, but then now I should achieve this or should achieve that, there we can let that go, ease up on that at least.
Okay.
If you keep a playful note in it, then even that is not hurting. If you have the idea, some experience you would like to experience, but you keep a playful note and just have it there in the picture as a possibility, but are not attached to that. I have to somehow get around to get there. Then even that idea is not hurting and not preventing, then that idea also becomes more and more innocent. But it's when that I should, I'm disappointed, it doesn't happen, what am I doing wrong? How can I do it? When that comes in, then that whole bottleneck comes where we are creating tensions that are not necessary.
Yeah, I did that a lot when I was beginning to meditate. That was very ambitious and strict, and
yeah, right.
It's becoming easier, a little bit more playful.
Right, that's great, wonderful. That, I mean, everybody does that to start with. Have all kinds of ideas what should and should not be, what should happen. But then, as the time passes, one can ease up on that. Huh? Okay. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
I saw when Andreas opened the camera, Nelly opened. Do you want to come in, or shall we leave it at that? Yes, there is Nelly. Hello, Nelly.
Hello, Werner. I want to say that I feel connection with what you talked with Lutz. Yeah, I feel in myself this. I feel dependence of how behaves my close person,
Yeah.
what she answers me. And yesterday I had situation. She asked me for something, and I could not satisfy her wishes, and I wrote very correctly about that, my position, and tried to be very polite. Yeah, and she didn't answer me this. I feel how I'm beating myself up in my with these thoughts in my head. I feel this, feel this dependence that what she asks, or if she asks me something good or not good, or doesn't answer me, and I try I try to be ahead now. I try to meditate and go with my breath. But sometimes it happens, it's okay, I feel okay. Sometimes even I feel good, but sometimes I feel that my thoughts are stronger than all my breath and body sensations. I understand that I create all these things, tensions unnecessary. I understand this very good, but yes,
it's
it is
still
like
happening.
yes, it's like a old habit to harm myself. Yes, like to be a victim. And I ask myself, do I like it? Why am I doing this? Yeah, I see it in myself. And what you said helps me. What you said, that I should really find this source in myself to in which I can find support. Don't wait from outside that someone confirm something or not, that I'm good or I'm not good. Yeah, but I see it, so still it's difficult for me. Yeah.
Right, and it will go so like that. Old habits will re-establish themselves all the time. But the very fact that you see it makes the situation very different. As long as you don't know, as long as you are not even aware that this is happening, you simply suffer the effects of it, but you are not quite aware of the mechanisms, then there is no hope that you ever free yourself of it. But then the situation comes and you basically think, no, I don't want to go there anymore, but the situation still evokes the same responses, the same emotions, but you are aware of it. You see that it is happening. And that seeing what is going on is not exactly pleasant, that you don't want to react in a certain way, but you still react in a certain way is not exactly pleasant to see, but the very fact that you see it and you have that feeling, no, there is that thing, that sensor, it could now be over with, that already starts to do something. So don't worry about it if it still comes back, but it's good that you see it and just keep on seeing it, and then every time without being aware of it, it's losing its power. That old habit is losing its power.
Okay, I hope it will happen somewhere. Okay. Thank you, Werner. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. It just makes sense to go on. Whatever we are confronting in external situations, whatever we are confronting, seeing how me, I, the person, am functioning. And even if we decide, I don't want to function in a certain way, I don't want to function like this or that, and the situations come and I still function in the same way, react, but I see it. We don't have to be discouraged like that because of that, but rather, okay, at least I see it. Okay, there is some more work to be done, and then continue being alert, letting go as good as we can, detaching as good as we can. We can just detach consciously, little drop by little drop by little drop, and the real detachment starts to come by itself. That is the job. That is the path. That's what I meant when I said, let's have a good, honest look at ourselves. Let's not be afraid of seeing unpleasant things, the things we thought we can let go, we should not more have, and then in the situation, still they manifest. Okay, they are still there. There's some work more work needed. We can go about it playfully, happily, not taking the whole story too serious. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.